Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting my voice on screen. Those who are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting my voice on screen. That's it. And can you please check it what we completed in the last session? The topics what we understood there in the last classes. Just if you have to the last class content, that's it. Differences between Java history and where we completed, not required to repeat anything. Then we started differences between Java and others. Differences between Java and others. The very first difference we completed, the first difference is C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language. C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language. That's it. Now this is the very first that means first difference we understood. Then here, what was the point we are discussing now? If any programming language allows static memory allocation, that means memory allocation at compilation time, then that programming language is called as static programming language. Examples are C and C++. In a C and C++ applications, memory allocation will be provided at compilation time by compiler. If any programming language allows memory allocation, that is memory allocation at runtime. If any programming language allows dynamic memory allocation, is memory allocation at runtime, then that programming language is called as dynamic programming language. Example, Java. In Java application, memory will be allocated at runtime, not at compilation time. Right, so now these are the points we understood in the last class regarding the differences. Okay. Okay. Then after this, now the second difference. Today we are going to understand the second difference and important difference. That is what preprocessor. Preprocessor. Wait a minute of time, guys. 1 minute. I'll come back. Guys, just give 1 minute of time. I'll come back. That's it. The second difference is also is very important difference that we have to understand. Then what about this? The second difference scale. Preprocessor is required in C++, but preprocessor is not required. Preprocessor is not required in a Java. Address. Preprocessor is required in C and C++, but preprocessor is not required in Java. So before going to understand preprocessor is required or not required in C, C++, Java, first of all, what is preprocessor and what is the location of the preprocessor and what is the role of the preprocessor in programming languages that we have to understand. After that, we will decide whether preprocessor is required or not required in C, C++, Java. First, understand the concept. What is preprocessor and where is preprocessor and what is the job of the preprocessor and what is the role of the preprocessor in a programming languages. Good. I'll give one point, try to understand it, one small diagram. A small diagram I'm going to provide, now try to observe carefully. Observe carefully. For example, here I've taken a C program. C program. C program in the sense dot C file. C program in the sense dot C file. That's dot C file. Whenever we are having dot C file now, we have to perform compilation process. You know already. Then whenever we prepare our program, compilation is required. Guys, can you tell me what is the need of this compilation? Today, a given points related to this part, this point. Compilation. And what is the requirement of compilation? Can you tell me? I'll wait 1 minute of time for you. Tell me, guys, what is the requirement to go for compilation? What is the requirement? That's perfect. Muhammad Malik converts to mission language code. That means high level to low level language. Part number, right? Only part number. Good. For finding errors. That's perfect. Good. Related. All of your answers are right. That is the reason why we require compilation. Okay, good. Tell me, after compilation of our C program, which files we are able to get? What exactly the files we are able to get? Can you tell me, guys? What is the file here we are able to get? Our compilation of after compilation process. There we are getting .exe file. .exe file. After compilation, .exe file. We are getting. Perfect. Whenever we are getting .exe file, then we have to execute our program. So how to execute our program, or this is the execution process. In this diagram, I'm not putting any concentration on this execution process. No, just namesake. But majorly I'll go for compilation part. But when we execute our program, then automatically we have to get some results. Then we have to get results. Results. What is that one here? We are able to get no outputs. That's so this is the step-by-step procedure for C programming language and how we are going to get output. That's fine. If you open this compilation process, how many machines are running together to perform this compilation actually? Do you know that? How many machines are running to perform compilation internally? Right. If you think about the number of machines which are running parallelly to perform compilation, the very first machine The very first phase is preprocessor. The very first phase is what? Preprocessor. After this preprocessor, the next phase will be compiler. Compiler is also existed. Next phase would be compiler. Next phase would be compiler. After this, the next phase would be assembler. One would be assembler. Inside the compilation, these many missions are running. Don't think only compiler can work under compilation. Compilation in the sense, these many missions. One more mission, last one. Loader link editor. Loader, then link editor. This also be another one. Loader link editor. Right, sir. Now this is completed. Now our record point is also completed. What is preprocessor? That's my required point. So the location of the preprocessor, here we identified the location of the preprocessor is what? Location of the preprocessor is like compilation. Inside this compilation, preprocessor is existed. That is the location of the preprocessor. As of you observe this clearly, what I'm telling you now. Good. Then I will my required information I'm getting. But anyway, I want to elaborate this compiler also, internal structure of this compiler also. Just we are going to see what was that compiler. If you observe this compiler internal process there, compiler internal process, if you observe it, then inside this we are able to have six number of phases. Inside this compiler, we have nearly six number of phases. Right, sir. What are the six number of phases now? What exactly the six number of phases? First one would be lexical analysis phase. This one will be syntax analysis phase. Semantic analysis phase. Intermediate code generation. Code optimization. Code generation. Like this. Okay. This many phases are available. If you open the compiler, these many phases are available. But immediately not required to know all these things. Just I'm giving the structure. What are the various things are available and what we need to know inside this compiler and inside this compilation. So these many points are existed. These many things are available. These many phases are existed. So my main intention of this diagram is just to show what is the location of the just to know what is the location of the preprocessor. That is my intention of taking this diagram. Not to explain anything about this lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, and all. Definitely, what I'm telling you. Okay, right. Right. This is the point here. What I am telling you clearly. Yes, understand it clearly. No, just one time observe this total diagram. Easily we are able to get our required point. What about our required point? No, what is the location of the preprocessor? That point here we are able to get clearly now. Can you tell me guys what's the location of the preprocessor? Any idea? Any idea? What is the location of the preprocessor? Can any of you tell me? Location of the preprocessor is a part of the compilation or not? Right? Location of the preprocessor is a part of the compilation or not? One. Part of the compilation or not? Is related to compilation or execution? But preprocessor, not required to say, I think yes, no. Just it was confirmed that. What it was confirmed that in the diagram where it is there, part of the compilation. Here preprocessing. Pre-processing phase and preprocessor, part of the compilation only. Part of the compilation only, or at any other part. Right. So this is the part of the compilation, that point only. For the sake of this particular point only, I've taken today this diagram. Let me save this and I will share these diagrams also for you. Right. Within 1 or 2 days of time, I will create a channel. Through the channel, I will share all my class running notes and all class diagrams and everything. Everything I'll share. Okay, not worry for this. So this is like what I'm telling you, preprocessor. That's okay, guys. Here this one. This is preprocessor part. Okay, finally, I want to give a comment, simple comment. What is that comment here? Preprocessor is one of the components in the compilation process. Then that's okay, fine. That I understood. But what is the role of the preprocessor? What is the role of the preprocessor? What is the job of the preprocessor? What preprocessor is doing? What a preprocessor is able to do? Right. If you come for the job of preprocessor, what it is doing? No, answer for my questions. As everybody must answer for my questions. Answer for my questions. What I'm asking to you. Tell me, guys. In C and C++, the complete predefined library. In C and C++, the complete predefined library. Complete predefined library provided in complete predefined library was provided in the form of header files. Am I right or not? Just confirm to me. If you have any awareness on it, just confirm to me. Guys, I said you already in my classes. If you know the answer, we can type this answer. If you don't know the answer, at least you have to type but don't know. Yes, I required confirmation, whether you know or don't know. If you know, type that answer. If you don't know, at least type I don't know. By that, my work will be very simple. So in C and C++, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of header files. Okay, good. Even if you don't know that, just try to understand it. What are the header files? No, what are the various header files? Simple. They are like normal text files. Think like this. If you don't know anything about header files, no need to worry for this. Like text files where some content is available, that is predefined, that is provided by C and C++ vendors. That's it. Not more than that. What are the various examples for this header files? No. Yesterday about .h, yesterday about .h, conio.h, conio.h, math.h, and so on. Number of header files are available which contains predefined library. There are some files which contains some predefined library. That's it. Now understand it. What is the meaning of this header file? What is the requirement of this header file? So in the C and C++, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of header files only. What are the various examples for these header files now? stdio.h, conio.h, math.h, and so on. Okay, fine. Purposes are not required. Just understand these are the header files where predefined library is available in C and C++. Good. Next point, what I'm telling you know, if you want to use predefined library in C and C++ applications, if you want to use predefined library in C and C++ applications, we have to library in the sense what I have to say no. Some predefined functions might be available, am I right? Venki, Sai Venki. Predefined functions are existed, am I right? In general, in any programming language, some predefined variables or predefined functions, predefined classes or predefined, so these are available, right? So these are provided by C in the form of header files. C programming language has provided these in the form of header files. So that's why that library in the sense predefined variables and functions and all. But in now C and C++ applications, in the C and C++ applications, if you want to use predefined library, then we have to include header files. Then we have to include header files. We have to include header files. For this, we have to use hash include statement. For this, we have to use hash include statements. Examples I'm telling you, observe hash include stdio.h, hash include new.h, include math.h, and so on. Like this, we have to include them. So library is provided by C and C++ in its software. Library in the sense in the form of header files only, predefined library, header files. But if you want to use that predefined library in a C and C++ applications, we have to include these header files to the programs. To include these header files to the programs, here we are using hash include statement. Hash include stdio.h and hash include conio.h, hash include math.h. Like this, we have to include these header files to the C and C++ program. For this only, we are able to use predefined library in our C and C++ applications. Good, that's fine. Now I'm asking one question to all of you guys. Try to understand it. Simple point. For example, I prepared a C program. Inside C program, I have used hash include statements. I prepared a C program, and inside the C program, I included these hash include statements. I have written them. Now, if you perform compilation, over the C program, C and C++, whatever it may be, then what is the role of the preprocessor? Right, sir. Then preprocessor, if you perform compilation over the C program, then preprocessor will perform the following actions. What are the various actions this preprocessor is able to perform? Point number one. Listen carefully. Preprocessor will recognize hash include statements, and preprocessor will take all the header files names which we provided along with the 1 minute wait. Yes, just 1 minute I've taken time. Don't worry for it. Right, preprocessor will recognize hash include statements, and preprocessor will take all the header files names which we provided along with the hash include statement. Okay. Good. That's fine. The second point would be, after this, the second point would be preprocessor will check whether the specified, whether provided header files are exist or not. Preprocessor will check whether the specified header files are exist or not at C and C++ predefined library. That means at C and C++ software. Preprocessor will go to C and C++ software where it will check, preprocessor will check whether these provided header files are exist or not in C and C++ softwares. If the specified header files are not existed, then we will get compilation error. Then we will get an error. Alright, the error says the specified predefined library, specified header files are not existed. The specified header files are not existed like this, we are able to get some error message. If the specified header files are not existed, then we will get an error. Understand it? For example, if the specified header file, the specified header files are existed, clearly what I'm telling you now, if the specified header files are existed, then what preprocessor will do? Then preprocessor will load header files content. Then preprocessor will load. Then the specified header files. Then preprocessor will load the specified header files content into the memory. All of you guys observe carefully. Here itself, I want to say one note. Loading predefined library at the time of compilation. The total process is going in at the time of compilation or not. If we compile C program, then what will happen? That's the process I'm talking now. So as part of this compilation only, library is loaded. As part of the compilation time only, library is loaded. So loading predefined library at the time of compilation is called as static loading. Loading predefined library at the time of compilation is called as static loading. Nothing, sir. Even I've given in the form of these 4 points, no. But point is very clear. When we provide hash include stdio.h or conny.h or math.h, simply preprocessor will check if these header files are available in the C predefined library or not. That means C software or not. Not available, error will come. Available, then preprocessor will load these header files content to the memory. That's it. If they're not available, error will come. If they're available, preprocessor will load header files content to the memory. Header files content to the memory. Okay. Now this is a simple question and simple point what I'm telling you. Good. So loading predefined library to the memory at the time of compilation is called as static loading. That loading part is called as what? Static loading. Okay, good. This is when we go for this compilation. Now here I record the conclusion. Here now I need the conclusion. What is this conclusion actually? Therefore, main purpose of right. So therefore, C and C++ required preprocessor. C and C++ required preprocessor to recognize hash include statements in order to load header files content. In order to load header files, that's it. So to recognize hash include statements and to load the provided header files content to the memory, we need preprocessor in the case of C and C++. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you are getting points up to now. Very simple points only, not any difficult points. Just given what is the requirement of preprocessor in a C and a C++. What is the requirement of the preprocessor in C and C++ now? just to recognize hash include statements and to load the provided header files content into the memory. Loading header files to the memory is the main intention of predefined, that means preprocessor. This is what exactly the point I said to you. That's good. That's fine. Then, after understanding why preprocessor is required in C and C++, similarly, we have to understand why preprocessor is not required in Java. Why it is not required in Java? What is the problem in Java? Why preprocessor is not required in Java? Right. Then I'll give clarity for you or try to understand it now. In Java, the complete predefined library, was provided in the form of classes and interfaces with packages, measuring packages. The statement I'm telling you. Any example for this package, guys? Example for packages are what? Java.io, Java.io, that's perfect. Java.lang, okay fine, Java.util, then after that, Java.sql. So like this, so many packages are available in the case of Java. Not required to know all of them at present. The future we are going to see all of them. But sample examples point of view, I given this one. Very clear. Like this, number of packages are available. Java.io, Java.util, Java.sql, and so on. Next one is, then what next one get after completion of this? If you want to use predefined library, if you want to use predefined library in Java applications, if you want to use predefined library in Java applications, then we have to include, then we have to include packages in the Java applications. Then we have to include packages in Java applications. For this, we have to use import statements. For this, we have to use import statements. If you want to use predefined library in Java applications, then we have to include packages in Java applications. For this, we have to use import statements. Right. Examples are like what now? Import java.io.star. Star represents all classes and interfaces of java.io package. Right. So import java.util.star. Again, star represents all classes and interfaces from java.util package. Import java.sql.star. Import java.sql.star. It represents, that means what now? All class and interface of java.io. Like this, we are able to write import statements. Assume it. I prepared a Java program. Inside my Java program, I have included these import statements. I have written these import statements in my Java program. Right, sir. Observe carefully. What I'm telling to you, if you compile Java program, the compiler, not preprocessor, please remember this. In the case of C and C++, when we compile C program, then preprocessor will do some actions. But in the case of Java, what I'm telling you know, if we compile Java program, then compiler will perform the following actions. What are the various actions that compiler is performing? No, that's very clear. Compiler will recognize all import statements. All import statements. The compiler will take the provided packages names. Compiler will take the provided packages names. What are these packages now? Java.io, Java.util, Java.sql, and so on. Good. Then after what compiler is doing now? Compiler will check whether the provided packages are exist or not in Java software. Java software compiler will check whether the provided packages are exist or not in a Java software. That's very clear. Compiler will check that. Okay. Then what is the result now? If the provided packages are not existed, then what compiler will do? Definitely, compiler will raise an error. What compiler is able to raise an error, I can show the error message also. Package XXX does not exist. XXX in the sense like Java.type maybe, Java.util maybe, Java. Like something else. What I specified the package names. Package XXX does not exist. This type of error we are able to get. Right. Let's move on to this fourth point. Point number 4. If the provided packages are existed in a Java software, the compiler identifies the provided packages inside the Java software, then what compiler is doing, that is important. What compiler is doing. If the provided packages are exist in Java software, then compiler will not raise any error. Compiler will not raise any error. Compiler will not raise any error. At the same time, compiler will not load. Compiler will not load any package content to the memory. Remember this. Compiler will check whether the specified package names are exist or not. If the provided packages are existed in Java software, then compiler will not raise any error, and at the same time, compiler will not load any package content to the memory. Understand, guys, what I'm asking to you? So compiler will not load any package content to the memory. Good. Okay, fine. If compiler is not loading predefined library to the memory, then who will take responsibility of loading predefined library to the memory? Who will take the responsibility of loading predefined library to the memory? Right, I'm giving a note. In Java, at runtime, not at compilation time, at runtime, JVM is a component. JVM, Java programs are executed by a mission called as JVM, Java Virtual Machine. JVM will load the required classes and interfaces of the packages. JVM will not load the total package content. JVM will load up to the requirement, as per the requirement. The required classes and interfaces are only being loaded to the memory at the runtime, not at compilation time. In Java, at the runtime, JVM will load the required classes and interfaces of the packages. Good. The point is what? Loading predefined library runtime. Loading predefined library at a runtime. Loading predefined library at a runtime is called as dynamic loading. Loading predefined library at runtime is called as what? Dynamic loading. Right, yes. Finally, what is the job of the compiler and what is the job of the JVM? If you observe this clearly, if you observe this point, no, what is the answer here I'm telling to you? In Java, Compiler is responsible for checking whether predefined library, that means whether the specified packages are existed or not. Right? Compiler is not responsible for what? Loading library. But JVM is responsible for loading library. Guys, all of you observe this clearly. What I'm telling you, right? So compiler is an interpretive programming language or Java is an interpretive or comparative programming language. So these concepts we will discuss in Java features. There is a separate topic there. So there we will discuss about it. Dubey, understand it, what I'm telling you. So at present it is not now. Just in the Java features, we have a separate part. Exactly. Whatever the point we raised there, the same point is available. There we will discuss about it. But as of now, just we have to understand. Don't deviate and just we have to understand. What is the role of the preprocessor in C, C++ and in Java. Why preprocessor is not available in the case of Java? Why preprocessor is available in the case of C and C++? Just up to preprocessor kind of things I'm telling to you. That's it. So JVM is what Java virtual machine. Just it is an engine to execute our program. In which way? The C engine is executing C programs. In which C++ engine is available to execute C++ programs. In the same way, we need an engine to execute Java programs. That engine is called as JVM, Java Virtual Machine. It's a tool. It will run Java programs. Of course, the JVM will maintain internally one thread to execute our program. That thread is nothing but flow of execution. The JVM will generate a flow of execution to execute our program. That flow of execution is called as what? A thread. Understand? Winking. Right? Yes. Now, this is the overall information what's going on in the case of Java. Now coming to the conclusion. What is this conclusion here? I'm telling you. Right. So coming to this conclusion part here. What is the conclusion? Java doesn't require preprocessor. Why? Because in Java, hash include statements are not existed. Hash include statements and header files are not existed. In Java, hash include statements and header files are not existed. That's why preprocessor is not required. Java does not require preprocessor. Why? Because in Java, hash include statements and header files are not existed. Not more than that. There's a simple reason that we have to understand. So to give this type of conclusion only, I discussed about this total process. Guys, just 1 minute, try to analyze it, what exactly the points I discussed with you regarding this today. Preprocessor is required in C and C++, but preprocessor is not required in Java. That's the point. First of all, I've given a diagram where I've shown clearly where is the location of the preprocessor. Preprocessor is one of the component in the compilation process. It's the first phase in compilation process, strictly speaking. In C and C++, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of header files. stdio.h, conio.h, math.h, and so on. In C and C++ applications, if you want to use predefined library, then we have to include header files. For this, we have to use hash include statements. Examples are given. Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, and hash include math.h. Right, sir. Observe carefully. If you perform compilation over the C program, then preprocessor will perform the following actions. What are the Following actions, no. Preprocessor will recognize hash include statements and preprocessor will take all the header files names which we provided along with the hash include statements. Preprocessor will check whether the provided header files are exist or not at C and C++ softwares. If the specified header files are not existed, then we will get an error. If specified header files are existed, then preprocessor will load header files content to the memory. Loading predefined library at the time of compilation is called as static loading. C and C++ required preprocessor to recognize hash include statements in order to load header files. Observe guys, what I'm telling you. Next one is after that, in Java, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of classes and interfaces in packages. Examples: java.io, java.util, java.sql. If you want to use predefined library in Java applications, then we have to include packages in Java applications. For this, we have to use import statement. Import java.io.star, import java.util.star, import java.sql.star. Right, sir. Good. Then after that, after understanding this, if we compile Java program, then compiler will perform the following actions. What are the various actions which are performed by compilation, compiler? Compiler will recognize all import statements and compiler will take the provided package names. Compiler will check whether the provided packages are exist or not in Java software. If the provided packages are not existed, then compiler will raise an error. If the provided packages are not existed, then compiler will raise an error. What is that error message we are able to get? No, package XXX does not exist. Again, the point is, if the provided packages are existed in Java software, then compiler will not raise any error, and at the same time, compiler will not load any package content to the memory. In Java, at a runtime, JVM will load the required classes and interface of the packages. Loading predefined library at runtime is called as dynamic loading. In Java, compiler is responsible for checking whether the specified packages are exist or not. Compiler is not responsible for loading library. JVM is responsible for loading library. Java does not require preprocessor because in Java, hash include statements and header files are not existed. If they're available, then we may think about them preprocessor, but they're not existed. That's it. Good. Then immediately I have a question now. What about my question here? What are the differences between hash include statement and import statement? That's it. What exactly the differences between hash include statements and import statements? This is my question, guys. Guys, will you answer for my question? Java does not slow down. No, 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 no. That's the meaning of it. So anyway, then at any time we have to perform the execution process here. Maybe we have to do what I am telling here. We have to do perform execution time at maybe at runtime or maybe at compilation or whatever it may be. So this checkup must be performed. So it's not the meaning of slow down the Java software. No, not like that. Don't think like this. It will not slow down the process. Do this one. Right, sir. Once loaded by the preprocessor and other is loaded to the memory by the JVM. So preprocessor is not there. McCarthy. Preprocessor is not there in the case of Java. Only loading would be done by JVM only, not by compiler. So at runtime, JVM will do that. This hash include is compiled code. Yes, exactly. Hash include is compiled code only. Hash include is not that. Header files are compiled code. Then header files will be loaded with preprocessor. Good. Yeah, of course. McCarthy, right. Right. In the case of C, it is right. Yeah, that's okay, guys. Then you're trying to give all answers, no? That's perfect. Good, good. That's it. Let's observe this point, guys. What are the differences between hash include statement and import statements? Now let's understand it. Very first point here, what I'm telling to you. Hash include statements are existing now, C and C++, majorly. But whereas import statements are existing in Java. Hash include statements are existing in C and C++, whereas import statements are existing in Java. Then what is the job of this hash include statements? No, hash include statements are used to include predefined library which are existed in a header files. Include statements are used to include predefined library which are existed in header files. Similarly, import statements are used to include predefined library which are existed in packages, classes and interfaces and packages. Of course, simply packages. That's it. Then after that, point number 3. Then what about this point number 3? Here I'm telling you, as I'm asking one question there. Right. Observe carefully. Hash include statements are used to include predefined library which are existing in header files. Import statements are used to include predefined library which are existing in packages. That's perfect. Next one is who will recognize hash include statements and who will recognize import statements. Include statements are recognized by preprocessor, whereas import statements are recognized by both compiler and JVM. Include statements are recognized by preprocessor. Import statements are recognized by both compiler and JVM. Everybody has to understand. Next one is, come on guys, now tell me, hash include statement is able to load libraries to the memory at compilation time. So this type of loading is what? This type of loading is a static loading or not? This type of loading is what? Static loading or not? So hash include statements are supporting static loading, whereas import statements are supporting dynamic loading. Import statements are supporting dynamic loading. Hash include statements are supporting static loading. Import statements are supporting dynamic loading. Everybody, understand this point. Next, guys, I'm asking one more question to all of you. Now, try to answer for my question. Is the syntax is possible in C and C++? That means my point is it possible to include more than one header file by using single hash include statement? Is it possible to include more than one header file to the memory by using single hash include statement? No, not at all. No, it is not possible. So the point is what I'm telling you, the C and C++ single hash include statement Single hash include statement can be used to include only one header file. Single hash include statement can be used to include only one header file. It is not possible to include more than one header file by using single hash include statement. In C and C++ applications, single hash include statement can be used to include only one header file. It is not possible to include more than one header file by using single hash include statement. Right, sir. If you want to include more than one header file, then we have to use. If you want to include more than one header file, then we have to use multiple hash include statement. We already seen. Example I'm telling you. Hash include yesterday what dot hitch. The hash include new dot hitch. Just hash include. But in the case of this import statement, what happened in Java by using single import statement? By using single import statement, we are able to include. By using single import statement, we are able to include more than one class or interface of the same package by using star notation. What is this actually? Example, if you observe this clearly, import java.typo.star. What's the meaning of it now? Import java.typo.star. In essence, star represents more than one class or interface of the java.typo package that we included. Import java.typo.star. In essence, more than one class or more than one interface of java.typo package will be included. That's it, guys. Now, this is the total awareness here we can understand about this. So, totally, what was the point here I given there? All right. So, hash include statements are exist in C and C++. Import statements are exist in Java. Hash include statements are used to include predefined library, which are exist in header files, and whereas import statements are used to include the predefined library, which is available in the form of classes and interfaces in packages or in the form of packages. Good. Hash include statements are recognized by preprocessor. Import statements are recognized by both compiler and JVM. Hash include statements are supporting static loading. Import statements are supporting dynamic loading. In C and C++ applications, single hash include statement can be used to include only one header file. It is not possible to include more than one header file by using single hash include statement. If you want to include more than one header file, then we have to use multiple hash include statements. Examples are given. In Java, by using single import statements, we are able to include more than one class or interface of the same package by using star notation. If the classes and interfaces are in a different packages, no classes and interfaces from different packages, no, definitely we have to use multiple import statements. That is now this is a story here we can understand. So that's all for today. Then now just a second difference also we here we completed. Third difference we will discuss there on now later on class, not immediately now. And path, class path, environment variables we will discuss in first application development. Steps to prepare first Java program. There I will discuss with you guys. Definitely, there I will discuss with you. Then not now. Right. That's all, guys. That's all. Then for today, then tomorrow we will meet and tomorrow we will see another important point. Then tomorrow I will go for Max. C and C++ are platform dependent and Java is platform independent. Then how? how C and C++ are platform dependent and Java is platform independent. How? That's a question. So, guys, within 1 or 2 days of time, I will share these notes, guys. I'm saving all these points now. And within 1 or 2 days of time, I will share these notes. Okay, don't need to worry for this. Everything inside the classes, all diagrams and everything will be shareable to you. Then definitely I will share to you. Right. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll meet on tomorrow. Thank you. Videos also. Videos. Our admin people will share, but this content I will share. That means classroom content I will share. Videos and everything I will. Maybe our admin people will share to you. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.